It's the battle of the Kinvaras. Who shall win?
Ginger Runner.
What is up, everybody? Ethan Newberry, the Ginger Runner, here for another Ginger Runner review. Before we even get into the review, I want to make an announcement. Tiger Claw, our very first trail race that we hosted last year, is back for its second running on May 2nd, 2020. Registration for the event opens on February 6th, 8 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. It sold out in 2019. We don't know what's going to happen in 2020. We hope it sells out. We'd love to share this race with as many people as possible. But please, if you would like to run, jump onto your computers, register, starting February 6th at 8 a.m. And with that out of the way, let's get to today's review. From Saucony, we're talking about the Kinvara 11. It's the 11th version of one of my favorite shoes of all time. If you think back to the early days of Ginger Runner, if you've watched this channel for a number of years, back in 2011, I reviewed the very first version of the Kinvara. It was my go-to road shoe. I used it in all sorts of races, from half marathons to marathons, training, everything I ran as much as possible in the original Kinvara. Over the years, the various versions I have reviewed to varying degrees of liked and dislikedness. Essentially, as the shoe has evolved, I've had my fair share of issues with it, but there have been many things that I have continued to like about the shoe. The last few versions, though, oh man, the Kinvara, it's changed. Last year, with the Kinvara 10, I felt like they were moving back towards the original, or at least trying to pay homage to the original. Homage? Homage or homage? Hey, babe, is it homage or homage?
I was going to say homage.
I always say homage, too. I'm going to look up Google.
Homage.
Homage. I thought it was homage.
Homage.
Saucony's potential attempt at a homage to the original. Being the 10-year anniversary, I was going back to some of those original roots, but I was disappointed. It was not, in fact, a return to form. It still is a really good shoe. It's just a different shoe. While I may not have necessarily liked the 10, I was excited for the next version, thinking it would be more of a homage to the original. Homage, 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 homage. So here we go. The Kinvara 11. There's really not that much different, very few changes, the biggest of which is the removal of PWRRun from the midsole. It's just PWRRun midsole material now. They've streamlined this ankle collar, removing some of the cushioning. They limited a lot of the welded overlays while adding some additional fabric, thicker, heavier overlays. Simplified the outsole a bit, but ultimately, that's it. There's not a lot different. So if you're used to the 9 or you're used to the 10, you're going to be right at home in the Kinvara 11. So do all of these tiny ingredient changes make the Kinvara 11 the go-to Kinvara of the lineage? Does the 11 bring the Kinvara back to life and make me want to jump into these things on a regular basis? We're going to find out in today's review, because I'm going to go over everything that I like and dislike about this shoe with one caveat, and that being, again, this shoe is very similar to the 10, so the review from the 10 will have a lot of carryover. Without further ado, let's get on to things that I like about the Saucony Kinvara 11. Starting with the improved midsole. By removing that PWRRun midsole layer and sticking with the PWRRun midsole, you get an ever so slightly softer midsole material, and I really want to emphasize that, because the only way I was really able to tell any difference was by putting a 10 and an 11 on different feet and switching them and running and just trying to feel a difference in that midsole. In my very unscientific testing, I realized that the 11 is just slightly softer, a bit more comfort out of the PWRRun midsole versus the PWRRun layer in there. The good news is that the shoe still maintains its peppy responsiveness, which many people liked in the last few versions. That sticks over here in the 11. Speed. So in line with the Kinvara 9, 10, the 11 definitely benefits from picking up the pace. Gone are the days of the Kinvara that just cradled your foot in all sorts of distances, all paces, all body shapes, and just give you that sort of soft, long distance trainer compatible shoe. The 11 leans into that more racing environment, and it wants to go quick. That responsive midsole I just mentioned certainly benefits from picking up the pace, getting into that tempo range. You'll feel it excelling in those ranges. It's just gonna need a carbon plate if it's gonna wanna keep up with the competition. Hey-yo. That being said, it's not all jambalaya and ninja throwing stars. There are a couple of things that I dislike about the Saucony Kinvara 11. Let's get to those now. Starting with weight. I can't believe that every version so far in the last like 3 or 4 versions has gotten heavier. It got slightly heavier in the 10. It got pretty damn heavy in the 11. Half an ounce heavier in my size 11 over the 10. There's softer edges all around where they've taken like midsole material and shaved it off for some weight savings. Remove some of the padding and cushioning and thickness along the ankle collar and tongue, but ultimately the shoe is heavier by ½ ounce. I wish it wouldn't be. You'd think that after 11 versions, the shoe would maybe either maintain the same weight, maybe shave off a little bit extra. We're not there yet. Who knows what the next version will hold. And yes, I realize these increments are extremely small. A lot of people would consider those negligible, but listen, if you're gonna get into a shoe that you've loved for so long, you just hate to see it change for the worse in that fact. Noise. This is a carryover dislike from the 10, and it's as extreme, if not more so, in the 11. I just had so many issues with the outsole making noise on the ground. The 10 alerted those I was running with what shoe I was running in. The 11 does the same. If you are trying to overtake someone, they will know you're coming from at least 100 feet away, because the outsole, no matter the foot strike, the shape, the size, the duration, the distance, the length, the angle, whatever it is, it's just gonna make noise. Even after 50-ish plus miles in this shoe, it has not broken into the point where the midsole is any softer, ground feel is any different. It just snaps. Pop on a saddle and you're a horse. Just saying. And finally, it's lost. With version 10 stylings, a tribute to the original Kinvara, I was hoping that version 11 would be even more like the original Kinvara, that we were moving back in the direction of getting back to what the shoe originally was conceptualized as. But, and maybe this dislike is more for me, the Kinvara just isn't the same shoe. Maybe I need to be okay with that. Maybe I need to sort of forget the first 8 versions and just recognize and accept what the Kinvara has become today. But if that's the case, a part of me just wishes it wasn't called the Kinvara. We might as well just change the name to Kinvara. The new Saucony Kinvara. A snappy, peppy, neutral, low drop trainer and racer, leaning definitely towards the racing realm. That seems right to me. But that, my friends, is it for dislikes. I have a lot of things to say about the Kinvara every time I review them. I know that many of you do too. You've been in this lineage with me as long as I have. You love these shoes to death. Many people have their favorite version. So in conclusion, the 11 is not my favorite version of the Kinvara. I like it slightly better than the 10, but it isn't anywhere close to the Kinvaras that I loved. It's a good shoe. It's a fun shoe, especially if you pick up the pace and you're in those tempo realms for any distance from a 5K up to a marathon. You can absolutely get away with running in the Kinvara, whatever. But if you have any experience in those earlier versions, it's just continuing to not be those. I am on the verge of just giving up hope that we'll ever return to the original form. The Kinvara is here to stay. Let's get more specific. Quality, I have actually been quite impressed with the materials that they've been using in the last few versions. So despite all the changes, the materials are holding up great. Build quality has been really good. With just over 50 miles in the shoe, as I mentioned, it's holding up really well. With all of that exposed outsole, you would think that it would break down prematurely. It doesn't. It hasn't. It's good. Comfort, it is still responsive. It is still snappy. It's very flexible, which is really nice. So the overall comfort of the shoe is good. I think that midsole isn't as soft as the original, which is really what drew me to that original shoe. The upper materials are really soft on the foot, which brings me into fit. The shoe fits exactly like every Kinvara ever. So glad that they got rid of some of those lacing issues from earlier versions. But what you're gonna get is a good lockdown through the midfoot, a good solid hold in the heel, and a generous, accommodating fit through the toe box. Fits fairly true to size, and my size 11, has since the very beginning. Haven't had any issues on the sizing front in the last few versions. This is no exception. Price at $109, that's a good price point for a shoe that you will definitely get hundreds of miles out of. Quick note that the Kinvara 10 is on sale for $79. So you either spend $109 or $79 for nearly the same shoe. Again, they're so similar. I'd even say that the 10 looks better than the 11. So links in the description will take you over to Running Warehouse where you can get either of these shoes. Just saying. And finally, looks. As I just mentioned, I thought the 10 was a better looking shoe. The 11 definitely has that dad vibe. It's not my favorite looking Kinvara by a long shot. Bringing us to our final criteria, is the Kinvara a buy, try, or a Y? As you can probably already tell by this review, it's leaning into the Y category, very similar to the Kinvara 10. With other shoes in the market that are just have more dynamic to them, for example, the Hoka Rincon or the Ultra Torin, I feel like you just get more for your dollar, more bang for your buck, more comfort in the long run over the Kinvara, which just seemingly has changed in negative ways over the years. I am really more curious as to your thoughts on the Kinvara 11. In the comments of this video, let me know, what is your favorite version of the Kinvara? Have you tried the 11? And what do you think? I'm super curious about this because I know that this shoe has been around for such a long time. It was one of my early favorites. I know it was many of yours, and it's just evolved so much. And based off of a lot of the reactions from my review of the 10 exactly 1 year ago, many of you felt the same way I did about this shoe. I'm curious if you feel the same way about this. Remember, if you want to find out any more information about the 11 or the 10 or any of the other shoes I talk about on this channel, there is a link in the description that will take you over to Running Warehouse. It is an affiliate link, costs you nothing, helps the channel out. You don't have to click it, but if you want to help us, it does. And that is it for today's review. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, make sure you like, favorite, and subscribe to the channel. Click the notification bell. You'll be updated every time a new video gets uploaded to the channel, which we do at least a couple times a week. Won't want to miss that. Over here, social media links. We've got them for all the different places. At the bottom there is patreon.com/thegingerrunner. That is the easiest way that you can help keep this channel alive and running all year round for years to come. For as little as $1 a month, you get cool perks, really cool stuff on the back end. And again, a reminder that Tiger Claw registration opens on February 6th at 8 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. I don't know. It might sell out. It might not. It might take 10 minutes. It might take 10 days. Who knows? If you want to come run Tiger Claw, register on February 6th. It's going to be a great race. We're really, really excited. 25 miles with 9,000 feet of elevation gain. Choose your own adventure. Oh man, it's a bad boy for life. Thanks everybody. Hope you enjoyed it. Get out there, train hard, race harder, and part of the hardest. I know I am. We'll see you guys next week. Bye.